Well, ladies and gentlemen, class may be over for some of you out there, but the Arizona 2025 recruiting class is very much still in session, and some rankings have been finalized. Some rankings have been moved around and shifted. Is Arizona's class the best in the nation? Is it a little bit underrated, a little bit overrated? Damon and I are going to break it all down on today's AZ Wildcats podcast. Plus, we might have a special guest joining us. Who knows? We'll be right on it after this quick countdown on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. We are in lovely downtown Phoenix at PHNX HQ2. And we are ready on a Thursday morning, afternoon, whatever you want to call it. It always confuses me, Kevin, to just talk some Arizona Wildcats athletics. Nothing better, Kevin, nothing better. How we living today on a Thursday?
Feeling good, feeling great. Excited for this podcast. Excited to watch some baseball later tonight as well, as that series gets underway. And also, Arizona baseball plays tomorrow. So overall, Diamond Sports, I'm excited. Could not be any more depressed about the current state of both the NHL and NBA playoffs, but that is not for this podcast. But overall, I am doing very well. Damon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing solid, Kevin. I was wondering yesterday, actually, a little, peek behind the curtain here at PHNX. Kevin was hanging out during the Celtics game. It was the fourth quarter of the game. TV not on, right? No, not watching the game, not paying attention to the score. Close game. And I didn't say anything because he walked out the door, but I was thinking to myself, does this brother not know that the season is kind of on the line right now?
No,
and now you're down
0-2
going to the Garden.
I did know. But my thing, I've been telling this to some of our Suns crew all year, is that it's like having multiple children.
Okay.
And one of your kids is a little older and more self-sufficient, and you don't worry about them. They're very well behaved. You feel like they're going to do good grades. They're going to get, all the extracurriculars in order. And then all of a sudden they get a DUI and crash your Mercedes. And now I'm thinking I thought I knew you, eldest son. I thought I didn't have to worry about you. And now all of a sudden, I got to set everything down and drop everything that I'm doing and pay attention just to you.
Yeah.
Everything's about you, but not for the right reasons. And that's how I feel about the Boston Celtics right now. Yeah, a couple one possession losses, couple turnovers against Mikal Bridges on the same side of the court. Makes me very sad.
I think you have to answer for your guys' crimes against humanity, though. So let's do it. And you know who I'm talking about.
Peyton Pritchard?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, PP.
No, you mean Jason Tatum, right?
I'll be honest. And I know this isn't the PHNX Suns show. I know we're not a NBA podcast, but I really thought the Celtics were on the trajectory for winning the next 5 finals.
They still might be, right? They still they're down 2-0. It looks really grim. They could claw back into this.
This team is not beating the Thunder.
Who knows?
I do.
All right, Oracle.
Damon Fairall.
The Oracle Damon Fairall.
Sorry, I have eyes and I watch basketball. The Thunder this Celtics team is they just don't look the same as last year's. Porzingis is having his injury problems, which is classic, right? Drew looks like he's taken a little bit of a step back. Jaylen Brown looks non-existent at times, and Tatum is just fumbling all over himself in big moments. The only guy that I think is and he's Mr. Consistency, is Derek White, where it's just you can just, what you're going to get out of Derek White night in and night out. Sometimes if you ask him to, he's going to give you 30, right? But mostly he's just going to give you 20, and he's going to shoot efficient from the field, and he's going to play good defense. And I both games were just basically a carbon copy of one another, just in the fact that the Celtics had a big lead, the Knicks clawed back, and then the Celtics just kind of threw up all over themselves in the clutch.
Again, I can't believe we're here talking about this right now.
It's insane.
And I don't want to be talking about this anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to swing this back to Arizona by saying Unfortunately for my St. Louis roots, how smart does Steve Kerr look? I know you've seen the memes about the what did Steve Kerr know about Jason Tatum, because he benched him in the Olympics or what have you, and everyone was like up in arms for the most part, I think, about, whoa, what is Steve Kerr doing?
Celtics fans.
Yes, true, but I think there were also some basketball fans. I'm not saying every single one, but I think there were some basketball fans that thought like that's a weird decision. But now Jason Tatum looks kind of silly.
Looks funny in the light.
Yeah,
I think is the best way of putting it. Looking a little funny in the light, Kevin.
The diamond tester is beeping pretty loud right now. I think is the thing we're trying to say. But I was gonna say Steve Kerr, incredible coach. And what did he know? He knew he was wearing the right stuff the other night with the retro Wilbur, though.
He knew. Here's what Steve Kerr knew. Steve Kerr knew that he had Kevin Durant and LeBron James as his two wings on his roster.
Correct.
And that was the most absurd part from Celtics fan standpoint, is like, guys, what are we talking about? You have two of the 10 greatest players in NBA history at the 3 spot, and you're crying because Jason Tatum of all people is not getting playing time? Unbelievable. I will never forget the disrespectful things that were said about Steve Kerr during that time period.
Eric, what was the nickname? Was it like Player A? Was it Player A? No, the Jason Tatum nickname? Yeah, Player A. Okay, yeah. On that note, we can move on. I just wanted to, yeah. More NBA talk. Eric wants more NBA talk. I don't know if I really want to do this. I mean, it kind of hurts my heart, to be honest with you.
As much as I, also hate the Knicks and don't want to see their fans happy, it's like this is somewhat of a win-win for me because somebody's got to lose. So, like, it's kind of electric, right? Get over here, Eric.
The best part is that if the Celtics lose, Kevin still has like 15 teams that he supports.
Bro,
so
why is this? What up, Bees? Who says bring Rubus on, and then here he is. But no, like, why is this the narrative when I do stay loyal to the teams I have? They just don't. The geographical alignment of all of them don't necessarily make that much sense outside of hockey and baseball, which make all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
So like pretty much 50% of my teams make complete logical sense. The other 50. I'm loyal to, but it doesn't really make that much sense as to why I follow them. I get it, but I don't have 15 teams, and Eric knows that, and that was disparaging, slanderous remarks.
And that was nasty, and that was uncalled for and mean and gross.
Yeah, and then when I call Eric mean, nasty, and gross later, he's gonna throw his hands up like, me? Oh, I've never do that. Ever. Yeah. Anyway,
Eric said yeah off camera for those of you at home, but yeah, NBA playoffs been pretty electric actually. In this second round in particular, been good stuff.
U of A versus U of A finals, Pacers versus Warriors. Can I interest you?
Little Ben Mathurin, TJ McConnell versus a little bit of Aaron Gordon versus, or I guess versus Steve Kerr. Yeah,
it is a little bit of Aaron Gordon erasure
and Zeke Naji. Yeah, Eric. Wow. I will have you know.
This is kind of some. Yeah, you got to pick one. But clearly, Michael thinks the Warriors might be superior. I'm assuming in that regard.
You think?
I'm assuming based on his comment, because in order to get there, they got to beat the Nuggets or some form of someone. I just feel like that's what he's saying. But Damon, I feel like we gotta start talking about these recruiting classes.
Yeah, perfect transition. We were talking about a little bit of LeBron James, right? LeBron James in the Olympics. How about Bryce James? How about this recruiting class? You like that?
That was professional work there.
Yeah, you're damn right, brother. You are damn right. But yeah, it's Arizona. Final recruiting class rankings brought to you by 24/7 Sports and their composite scores of which takes the combined overall ranking of ESPN, Rivals, and 24/7 all combined. And the Arizona Wildcats fared pretty well, Kevin. U of A number 2 in the overall rankings in hoops, and Tommy Lloyd got himself a pretty special class. You got Brayden Burries, Koa Peat, Dwayne Aristode, Bryce James, and then, of course, Evan Nelson as your lone transfer. And then you have the 2 international prospects that have committed in the last couple weeks here, and they don't even have rankings for them yet. So hypothetically, I mean, if I'm looking here at the composite rank, Arizona is behind Houston for that ranking, which, go figure, right? Of course. It's just like Kevin, we need to escape this Houston shadow more than we need oxygen to breathe.
It's pretty suffocating. You're right. It is very suffocating.
It's like everything we do, they're like, we'll do it. We'll just do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to play really physical basketball this year and run up and down the floor? well, we're that on steroids.
Houston's that guy at the birthday party who's like totally genuine, totally nice guy, like does not have any like ill will towards anybody there, but just goes like way over the budget for the like, secret give, like the gift thing, you know what I mean? And then like everyone's like, oh, here's a nice like t-shirt. Oh, here's your favorite book that you wanted to read. And then, my brother just comes out the woodwork with like an air fryer and just shows up everybody.
That's what Flex did at our White Elephant party a couple years ago.
And you're just like, I can't believe. I thought we had something cooking here. I thought I had maybe the best gift. I thought Arizona had maybe the best class. I thought Arizona was going to win potentially the Big 12 last year. And then Houston just says, you know what? No, I'm not going to let it fly.
Yeah.
We are going to outshine everybody else here at this party and do it our own way. And so, yeah, I can't wait for Tommy Lloyd in Arizona to outgrow Houston there a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly will be electric, Kevin. Michael says Houston is the guy your girl tells you not to worry about. Very, very true, Michael. And if you are in this chat, drop the comments. We love to get you guys involved. Drop a like on this video, please, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. But yeah, I think that here's the thing though. Arizona number 2 to Houston, but as is the basis of the show, Kevin, in the show title, you could really make an argument, I believe, that this is the best class in the entire country. And that starts with, I think currently the highest rated recruit after these rankings came about in Brayden Burries, Arizona's most recent high school commit, 5-star, competed in the McDonald's All-American game. And he went up a couple spots here in the rankings. He was at 11. He moved up to 9 in the composite rankings. Then you have Koa Peat, who was at 8. Dropped down to 11, taking that Brayden Burries spot, basically switching places there. Koa Peat drops down about 3 ranking spots there. Dwayne Aristode jumps up a few spots into the top 30. He is now the 29th overall recruit. And then, of course, you have Bryce James, who is a 3-star and figures to not really be a piece that is going to be a huge contributor on next year's roster, right? So it is it's a class that is, it's somewhat of a large class. Not typically do you see yourself getting, I think, about 3 5-stars. And yeah, I'm going to call Dwayne Aristode a 5-star, even though he doesn't have that 5th star because he's a top 30 guy. And he's like, let me see how many spots away he is from being a 5-star truly. Oh, okay. I guess there's only 15 5-stars this year, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, not a lot. Like if you go through the team rankings or whatever or whatnot, you don't see a lot of teams with, I don't think maybe any teams with more than 2 5-stars. I might be wrong on that.
I believe
Duke
has 2 5-stars.
No, but I'm saying like I don't think anybody has 3. I think you see a lot of teams with 2, but not any with 3. I think that kind of goes to illustrate like the lack of overall like 5-stars in this class. But it does feel like a somewhat deep class, but maybe not as deep at the top. You know what I mean?
Arkansas has 2 5-stars. Houston has 2 5-stars. Duke has 2 5-stars. Arizona has 2 5-stars. Those are the 4 teams that have 2 5-stars. No one has 3. To your point.
Yeah, and so I feel like that I was just trying to speak to your point actually about how there's just not that much 5-star talent out there. So I think it's not only important, but it's impressive that Arizona was able to go get 2 of those guys and be one of the exclusive schools to have more than 1 5-star coming in.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I 100% agree with you on that one. And yeah, it's a class that people are going to have a lot of high expectations for, right? So we've talked about the build of this roster. Like I think that supplementing these, kind of, I don't want to call them peripheral, but some of the staples of this roster, right, are guys that have loads of experience. You have Jaden Bradley coming back, most likely, I will say. I mean, he technically is in the draft process, but he somewhat did it last year as well, where if you remember correctly, he kind of silently entered the draft process and everybody was like, what's going on? And then he didn't really even announce that he was coming back to Arizona. He basically, I think, he kind of used it as like a gauge of like where he is as a basketball player, to, kind of, put himself up against some of the elite talent of college basketball last season. And I feel that based off of him not declaring and doing it somewhat similarly this year, that it's much of the same, right? So I think that, Kevin and I both expect Jaden Bradley to be back, barring unforeseen circumstances, right? And then you have a guy like Tobe Awaka, who has tons of experience playing in high-level games, hypothetically as your starting center like he was last season. You have Mo Krivas, who, despite, playing a backup role as a freshman and getting hurt last year. He will be in his third year of college basketball, which means he's, had 3 years of being in the weight room, 3 years of being around what it's like to be in that college basketball environment. You got Anthony Del Orso, who, has 2 years of eligibility left, I believe, and has played a lot of college basketball as well. So you have the experience on your roster in spots, but you're supplementing it with high level one and done type recruits in Brayden Burries and Koa Peat that you can't really find on the transfer portal. You can't really just go out and get those guys, especially not at Arizona, where we're not just, unloading our pockets and throwing all the money on the table. And maybe like a Kansas can get whatever transfer they want, right? Or like a Kentucky. But Arizona's just that, like, kind of a step below that, right? Like, you get a Caleb Love, but Caleb Love was somewhat seen as like a broken prospect in a way, right? Like, he was going to Michigan, who was not that great at the time, who had Juwan Howard as their coach, who was a terrible, coach for Michigan for their standard that they expect from themselves. And, he was leaving North Carolina. A lot of people were low on Caleb Love. And, Arizona was able to get the big name, but he wasn't necessarily like the most, I want to say, like, highly regarded among college basketball circles, right? So I think that Arizona's approach is like, we're not going to win these transfer portal battles. Why don't we go after these blue chip or high school guys and get them to come to Arizona? And Tommy Lloyd succeeded in doing that this season.
I agree with your point, and I wanted to speak on the transfer portal thing that you mentioned about how you can't go get the Koa Peats, the Brayden Burries from the transfer portal, and you very eloquently described like the kind of players you can get and how it's maybe just one tier below, but also they might have some experience that might put them even. The main reason why you can't get these guys out of the transfer portal, Damon, is because they're not around. They're one and dones. They aren't there to be transferring the next year. They're in the NBA. You know what I mean? So these guys, you're right. You can't get them out of the transfer portal. You do have to go for the guys maybe one tier below them that can play like a guy like that because they've had a couple years of college experience, right? Caleb Love, one of the best guards in all of college basketball by the end of his career. If he was playing like he did last year as a freshman, he would not have ever transferred out of UNC because he would have been one and done. So I think like when you look at the caliber of players in the portal, there are some extremely high caliber players, NBA quality players in the portal, right? But you get those guys because of something situationally that wasn't correct their first dip into the college pool, usually, right? So you're right. Like, you don't get the Brayden Burries. You don't get the Koa Peats in the portal because they're not there to be had. And I think the way that Tommy Lloyd's building his roster somewhat, and we'll see how it works out over time, right? But I think there's credence to the idea that building with multiple timelines in mind can actually be good. I think that there are multiple examples, specifically in the pro realm of sports, that show that building a team with two timelines in mind can be bad, incongruent with trying to succeed, right? Like, you look at the Warriors before they figured out what they wanted to do. That those teams where they had Moody, Kuminga, and Wiseman, but they also had Steph, Draymond, and Clay still. So you're trying to build like a future of your franchise while you still have the it doesn't always work. Yeah. But I think the way Tommy Lloyd is doing it, where you have experienced players, you have some transfer guys that you think could mend some holes skill set wise that you have, and then you have these blue chippers, that you can't get anywhere else, that you're going to focus on heavily. I think it's the way to go, because then you also have, if anything were to go wrong, heaven forbid an injury were to occur or something, then you have the guys that are kind of the project guys. Like, you have the guys that are the developmental cases, the Sidi Gueyes, the Mabil Mawut. You know what I mean? The guys that can come in and really raise your ceiling, but they're also unless they transfer, they're also going to be there next season so you can reap the developmental benefits. So I think it's very smart how Tommy Lloyd is building out his roster so far in the Big 12. And I hope that Arizona reaps those benefits next season. You hope that, I know this is a little bit down the line, it's kind of a superficial thing, but you do hope that some of the guys that he's bringing in that are a little bit more slender can compete in the Big 12. And I'm not saying that automatically because you're slender you can't compete in the Big 12, but it's one of those things that you're curious and you want to see, because it's a very physical conference, how a guy like, I'm not saying Brayden Burries is small, he's actually quite, dense, but like how a freshman like Brayden Burries, or how a couple of international players like Sidi Gueye or Mabil Mawut could fit into the most physical conference in America.
Yeah. I certainly agree with that. And as you mentioned, like there's multiple guys in that group that, a part of this class that are not even in the rankings yet. As we mentioned earlier in the show, like those, you got Sidi Gueye, you got Mabil Mawut, and I think they're somewhat of wild cards for this class, right? Because if one of them is, a somewhat kind of like of an anomaly, or like I don't want to call it an anomaly, but like I don't know if Arizona fans remember Lauri Markkanen when he committed. He was kind of an unknown. Like everybody, I remember there was like rumors that this guy was really good, but he didn't have like a recruiting ranking. He wasn't like a very talked about prospect. And then he stepped on campus and you're like, this is the best player on the team. And it's not even close, right? I'm not saying that one of those guys is going to give you that, but I'm just saying that you don't always know what to expect in these kind of European players. Like you could think that they're going to be great, and then they could be pretty disappointing. You could think that they're not really going to give you much, and then they could be extremely, extremely good for this team and provide a lot of value, right? So just something to monitor in that regard. But yeah, it's absolutely going to be a class that hopefully raises the standard for recruiting at Arizona, right? Because this is Tommy Lloyd's best class. And not that his previous classes have been bad or like he hasn't been doing a great job recruiting. I think that he's had less to replace in previous years. He's had like one or two guys he needs to mix out here and there, right? And like you get a Kylan Boswell when you look at Kirk Risa and think to yourself, like, that guy's not going to cut it at the level that we need to be at, right? And he brings in, that 5-star point guard in Kylan Boswell. Like, it's not like he hasn't shown the ability to get these blue chippers, but he hasn't shown the ability, I don't think yet, before this season to get multiple of them and stack them, right? And that's what's truly special about this is you have Dwayne Aristode, who started off this class and kind of got the ball rolling and just stayed committed the entire time, right? And then it gave Tommy the ability to then venture out and spend more of his time with Koa Peat and Brayden Burries and ensuring that those guys, wanted to come to the University of Arizona.
Additionally, I think the ability to stack those blue chip prospects, stack those chips, you know what I'm saying, get that money at the table. Anyway, I think the ability to do that kind of also shows. I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like I say this once every other show, but like the health of the program, right? There are a lot of people that when Arizona loses, they start, crying bloody murder about how, oh, well, this is why Tommy Lloyd can't lead this program. And you know what I mean? Like blah, 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 blah. I think the recruits feel differently. I think that the analysts feel differently. I think that the people that are in positions to help this program get to where it needs to be feel differently. Like I think when you look at international players that are eyeing Arizona and saying that's the spot that I need to go to develop my game and be the best basketball player I can be and also compete for championships. Yeah. Right? That is honestly incongruent with how Arizona, I think the most fanatical Arizona fans sometimes feel after losses. But I think it's important to remember that like overall, it's Arizona's first year in the Big 12 last season. That's a huge shift from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 stylistically. Yeah. Not only that, but once you have that plan, your center that you were kind of like, pillaring your offense around goes out with injury. Now you have to pivot completely your offense, 360 or 180, I guess it would be. You don't have the shooting. So like I feel like this upcoming 1, 2, 3 year stretch here at Arizona is really going to tell a tale of how Tommy Lloyd's time at Arizona is going to end up, in my opinion, because now that he has the stability in the Big 12, he has a nice reputation he's built for himself. Recruits are clearly taking notice of what he's building in Tucson. So I feel like the health of the program is incredibly strong right now. And I think this recruiting class, that's my biggest takeaway from it. Obviously, beyond the basketball stuff of how incredible some of these recruits are, I think that overall I'm most pleased with what it says about Arizona as a basketball program. Definitely. And where it stands today.
It inspires a lot of confidence, I would say, like, especially in Tommy and what he can get done, right? Like, because again, like I know I already mentioned it, but there were some question marks as to does he have the ability to kind of recruit like in that Sean Miller mold that we saw for so long here in Tucson, where it's like, Sean Miller was, he was up there with Caliparis, with the Coach K's of the world in terms of getting those elite level prospects. And now you see Tommy Lloyd is right there with him, right? But here's a little bit of a difference. And I'm not saying that Sean Miller didn't get good fits for his program. I think at times guys weren't always the greatest fits, right? Like you look at like Josiah Turner comes to mind, where Josiah Turner was, one of the highest ranked recruits in the country. I think he was the number one point guard in the country, and he totally flamed out. He played one season and did absolutely nothing in the NBA after he left for 1 year. And then you bring in, he brought in like a Nick Johnson, who was more in that Dwayne Aristode range, who was a perfect fit for what Sean Miller wanted to do, and just, wanted to play defense and was uber athletic, could rise up above the rim. Like, that was a perfect fit for his system. Another example being like an Alonzo Trier, who was, kind of a ball hog and, maybe not the easiest guy to play with. And it just didn't feel like a Sean Miller type of player. So I think, he was recruiting at an elite level, but he wasn't necessarily getting culture fits all the time. And you look at, I think with where I have full trust in Tommy, is that he's going to bring in guys that love this program, that want to be here, that this means everything to them, and that, this is a environment that, like, they feed into that culture that's being built, right? Like Koa Peat and Brayden Burries, Tommy wouldn't have gone after them as hard as he did if he didn't believe that they were not only fits for what he wants to do stylistically, but also off the court, right? And personality wise.
1000%. I think I've spoke to this at times during the season of, I know it might sound corny, but I think that might make you corny if you feel that this is corny. But I think that the way that Tommy Lloyd carries himself fills me with a lot of pride as a fan, because that is who is representing not only the university, but also the basketball program. I should have flipped those two things. But also, I think it shows me confidence that the players on the court that Tommy Lloyd brings in are built or cut from the same cloth. And I think that it also shows that the players like Carter Bryant that Tommy Lloyd is bringing in, I think Koa Peat is cut from that same Carter Bryant cloth. It really fills me with confidence that the program is moving in the right direction, and you won't have the Kylan Boswell, Kirk Kriisa problems that you've had in the past. Obviously, humans are humans. You're going to have weird cases of bad behavior at times, but I think Arizona is really trying to position itself as a Houston type, right? Tommy Lloyd's spoken to the inspiration that Houston has given him over the time, and I'm kind of excited to see the stability that Tommy Lloyd can try to instill at Arizona. Before we move on from our recruiting class conversation, I wanted to discuss with you two things. One, Arizona's actual ranking in the recruiting standings.
Okay.
And then also we have some movement with individual recruits that I think is very interesting that I want to prompt you on as well.
Yeah.
I'll start with the team ratings. We mentioned Sidi Gueye and Mabil Mawut not being listed because they don't have, rankings yet on 24/7 for those players in the final rankings, right? If they were included, which I know we're now in the hypothetical if world, would Arizona / should Arizona actually have the number one class? They're only less than a point behind Houston for the number one composite class according to 24/7 composite. I feel like if you add in those two players, who I feel like, do you feel like one of them would be? Do you think either of those are higher rated recruits by 24/7, or do you think the unknown kind of makes them more like a 3-star? Either way,
I guess I would need a lot more idea of I need to watch more tape, watch them in games and whatnot, and I'm sure 24/7 does as well. That's probably exactly why they don't have rankings yet, is because they haven't seen enough of them yet. So I think, while they do have the final rankings, I think that there is a chance that eventually those guys do get put in here, but also, not necessarily expecting it. But yeah, it could be enough to pull them over the top.
Which, again, that's not. I mean, it is a top 5 class, but it's not just a top 5 class, not just a top 3 class. That would be the number 1 class in all of college basketball, with above teams like Duke, recent 2-time champion in UConn. Duke has, multiple 5-stars coming in as well. The Boozer twins, Nick Kamenia, who Arizona was in on very early in the process. So I'd be extremely impressed if because in my mind, Arizona has the best class in the nation. That's how I'm looking at it based on the rankings right now, and the fact that Sidi Gueye and Mabil Mawut are not included in those rankings. I truly feel like Arizona has the best class of anybody in America right now. Do you feel the same? Do you think that Arizona, not looking at just the rankings or whatever and saying, well, then they're actually the number 2? Do you feel like they have the best class in the nation?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you're looking at Houston as that kind of that barometer, right? And you have a guy in Chris Sanick Jr. who's top 10. They have the 16th recruit in Isaiah Harwell. They have the 20th recruit in Kingston Flemings, and then a 3-star in Bryce Jackson. to round that high school class out. So they have 7, 16, 20 in the rankings. Arizona has, I believe, 9, 11, 29. So very, very comparable. Arizona has, their 2 players are probably a little bit more highly rated than Houston's 2 players. Kingston Flemings is a little bit higher rated than Dwayne Aristode, but very close. I think you're splitting hairs, right? And I really, that's where, I guess where I would be coming from is I think that we're at the point where Koa Peat might be a little underrated.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where, as Eric scoffs in the background.
Oh, come on.
But if he committed to Arizona State, he would need to be the number 1 recruit in the country, or else they would feel that he was being disrespected. But like Koa Peat, I think Koa Peat dropped because he didn't play in the McDonald's All-American game, Kevin.
Yeah.
I think that's the genuine reason he dropped. I think,
and you know what? Not to cut you off, but to add, I think like the hand injury, not letting him fully ball out the way that he was capable of balling out in the playoffs. Like, he played very well in the playoff games, don't get me wrong, but I think statistically you're hurt by the fact that you're playing with, I'll just say 1.5 hands, because he was still able to play with his broken hand. And yeah, I think he might actually slightly be underrated right now, which is kind of crazy to say because of how highly rated he already is.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I just feel like that, you move him from and I was looking at the history of his ranking. He started off as I believe the 3rd highest recruit in his class in 2022. If you go back to the history of his rankings that they provide for you on 24/7 Sports, he was number 3 in 2023 on the composite. He has slowly then just gone from 3 to 4, back to 3, 4, 5 forever, 6, 7, 6, 8, 9, and now he's been bumped. But I mean, I just honestly, like, I just feel that he's a guy that he's so ready made. I have no apprehension about whether or not he can play at the Power 4 Big 12, Power 5 Big 12 level. From the jump. It always confuses me. Power 4 in football, Power 5 in basketball now.
It blows my mind, and I always get, me, I'm really bad with that kind of stuff. Like the stuff that's like kind of the same thing, but it's really not. You can be right or wrong with it. I'm so bad with the Power 4, Power 5. Really bad with it. Yeah.
It's tough. I screw it up every time, but I just feel that Koa Peat is a guy that, he's so tailor-made to be successful at this level. And, I really do think that he's going to be a star at the level after this. Like, I think he's gonna be an all-star caliber player in the NBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit disheartening to see him continually just gradually drop spot by spot, right? But I also feel like as Arizona fans, we're used to this. If you're a high-level recruit and you commit to Arizona, typically you do find yourself dropping down a few spots here and there. Like, if Koa Peat went to Texas, oh my God, he'd be number 3. He'd be number 2.
Houston?
Yeah.
Him and Chris Sinak. Oh my God, the composite rankings might break.
Yeah, but Koa Peat, I think he's gotten underrated because of the McDonald's All-American game in particular. Because like you see Brayden Burries and he wasn't insane in the game really at all, but in the practices, the rumors were that he was playing extremely well, right? Like Brayden Burries was showing out in the McDonald's All-American game practices and looked like every bit like he was at that level of competition, and you see him jump up a couple of spots. Koa Peat would have been a McDonald's All-American, had a jersey, was at the game, had a broken hand, could not play, right? And
also,
I just think that's the idea that like they haven't watched Koa Peat play competitive basketball in a while is what has dropped him a couple of spots.
Yeah, and also I'll add the fact that he likely could have played in that McDonald's All-American game if he didn't play in the playoffs and maybe didn't win that 4th state title.
Yeah, if he wasn't a winner.
Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to mention we have some interesting player movement at the very top of the rankings as they have been finalized. And has the price, I mean, like when you sign a contract and then you get injured or then like, someone else signs a contract for more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prices alternate, but you're at your fixed rate. I feel like AJ DeBansa got in at the perfect time because now he is not the number 1 ranked player in the class anymore. That is Darren Peterson, who is going to Kansas, the 6'5" combo guard.
Who was the MVP of the McDonald's All-American game, which is part of the reason that I say what I say about Koa Peat.
Yes, because that's like all eyes on you in that moment, and you're only playing against the best. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I'm lockstep with you on that. But AJ DeBanza, BYU, coming to the Big 12, $7 million man, allegedly. He has dropped from 1 to 2, and I jokingly wonder if the BYU boosters feel like they maybe could have gotten a discount if they had just waited a couple more months, maybe drop it to 5.5. You know what I mean?
Well, we were talking a little bit off air, Kevin. Like BYU boosters are claiming that they don't outbid people for prospects.
Again,
right now.
I won't say too much on it. I'm always interested, like when people with a ton of money don't want you to think that they have a ton of money. You know what I mean? It's like y'all just paid $7 million for this AJ DeBanza kid. It's okay if you're like, hey, yeah, we're proud of the fact that we were able to outbid everybody for AJ DeBanza and that he chose BYU.
Yeah.
Because he could have passed out the big check to go somewhere else. So, I think it's okay to admit that you're able to outbid other teams. I think it's actually a feather in your cap that you're able to do that. But, yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Clark Gilbert on Twitter is where I'm getting this from. He posted a link to an article that was via Deseret News. It's titled, Igor Demon's BYU experience shows Kevin Young's rising program anchored in culture and family. The bullet points here are no church funding, no debt, engage in NIL competitively, but never the highest bidder.
But like, what does that mean?
Focus on mission, coaching, BYU environment.
I want to say this before I question the never thing. Because, like, obviously, like, Kevin Young's culture that he's trying to build in the locker room can be totally separate from everything else that's going on above him. Like, at the, whoever GMs them and all that stuff. Like, the NIL stuff, like, that's totally separate from the culture that he's trying to build in the locker room, which I'm sure is built on, like, family, faith, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, good values or whatnot.
Yeah.
But, like, why the all caps never out? Like, is it, like, a rule that, like, if someone else bid,
That's BS.
I don't know. Yeah. That's like an arbitrary thing.
Sorry,
like
the Deseret News is not privy to the offers that were being put on the table for different prospects. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to tell... I know for a fact Rob Wright was offered more money by, Kansas than he was by BYU. How would you possibly know that? And if that's the case, then why wouldn't he go to Kansas?
AJ DeBanza, I guess. I don't know.
That's kind of the point, no?
Yeah.
Why would AJ DeBanza pick BYU of all schools if he had more money on the table from, more like higher regarded blue chip programs? The Kentuckys, the Kansases, the Dukes of the world, right? I don't know. I find that very, very hard to believe, Kevin. I find that extremely hard to believe.
I do too.
I'm not, like, no disrespect to BYU. They're doing what they should do in an era of, the Wild West where you're allowed to basically do whatever you want. They have deep pockets and they're showing it, right? But it's just crazy to me the kind of the mental gymnastics that their fan base is doing to like kind of like I feel like they want to be like a holier than thou kind of like spot with this NIL stuff. Like, oh God, we would never do something like that. It's like, dude, you paid the number one recruit in the country. Like, what did you say? $15 million or whatever it was?
It was 17 or not 17. Sorry. It was $7 million.
Yeah.
7.
Sorry, not 15, but it's just like, that's wild to then like clutch your pearls and be like, oh my God, how could you say this about us?
It'd be one thing if it was like in the past era of college sports where like that was like a faux pas and could really get you in trouble. Like, of course you would never bid on a player, nonetheless outbid anyone else on a player. You know what I mean? But now it's like like I said, it's like a feather to have in your cap, honestly, that you can tell players like, hey, now if you're interested, not only like are you already interested, but we can give you the biggest bag out of anybody. Like, hey, come over to BYU. Like, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Again, we're not privy to like what the actual money situation looks like, but I would venture to guess BYU is the most expensive current roster in college basketball combined.
I think so.
And I'm not. You could say, oh my God, we're not outbidding everybody for every prospect. Like there are recruits that are getting bigger offers elsewhere. That may be true, but are there other places that have 5 players on their roster all making 7 figures? I'd find that hard pressed to believe, right? So I think it's absurd for them to act like that they're not paying a bunch of money. It's like, just own it, right? Like own it. But they they bring that in tune to the number 3 class in the Big 12 here, just a step below Arizona, but their transfer class was significantly better than Arizona's. So
Yes.
Overall, they're bringing in a ton of talent. They're going to be a problem next year. But yeah, just own it, BYU. Come on.
Last thing on the rankings that I wanted to mention were some surprise names in the top of the top list here.
Okay.
We're going to just go in order, and I want you to stop me, Damon, when something smells fishy. Houston, Arizona, Duke, Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
When was the last time Notre Dame was good at basketball?
Number 4, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame was last good at basketball when Jeremy Grant was on their team. Or was it Jerry and Grant?
I actually don't know.
Remember.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know Notre Dame ball like that. Or maybe I should.
Let me see the last time they made the tournament, Kevin. I find that so hard to believe that they're 4th. And that is a perfect descriptor of NIL right there, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is,
Well, because the number 6 team, because you have Arkansas at 5, that kind of makes sense. And then you have SMU at 6. SMU. UNC at 7. BYU at 8. Syracuse at 9. There's some history there. Mississippi State at 10. That's the SEC money there. Tennessee at 11. UConn 12. Alabama 13. Auburn 14. Butler 15. That raised Damon's nose at that one as well.
Butler's crazy. They got 4 4-stars committed to them.
It's a good class. Very good class for
Very
Butler.
good class for Butler. Every once in a while, you see a school like that. Like, I remember a few years ago, DePaul had like 5 4-stars committed to them. And I was like, DePaul? How does that happen? But yeah, Big 12 rankings, going through the same process here, Kevin. I'll have you stop me when you hear something fishy. Houston, Arizona, BYU, Iowa State, Arizona State.
That sounds interesting to me. I mean, honestly, I get it though. I really do understand it because and I'm not trying to like joke on them. I'm being serious. Like they had to replace the entire team. You know what I mean? Like so, you're going to have a high ranking class on quantity alone, even if I'm not saying the quality isn't there, whatever, we can have that conversation another time, maybe preseason, whatever. But like quantity alone, they're going to be in that top 5 just because you have so many recruits, so many transfers coming in because you had to fill so many spots on your roster.
Yeah.
So it smells a little fishy, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Number 6, Cincinnati. Number 7, Kansas. Number 7, Kansas.
I'm gonna stop you there because Kansas being at 7 isn't fishy because they're so high. It's fishy because they're so low.
And they have the number 1 recruit in the country, and they're 7th in the Big 12.
Like behind Cincinnati. Who's in Cincinnati's class? Let me pull that up here real quick. But yeah, Kansas being so low does not make a whole lot of sense to me here. As I feverishly look for they're 33 overall, by the way. I think it's just mostly because they only have 2 commits listed on 24/7 right now. Darren Peterson, the 5-star number one. And then Sammy Calderon is a 4-star. But then you have 3 4-star transfers coming in.
True, but I guess my thing is like they lost a lot of players on their roster this past season, right? Like KJ Adams, senior. Flory Badunga, didn't he enter the transfer portal? Am I incorrect?
I believe so.
That?
I don't know if he stayed though.
Okay,
but that's a McDonald's All-American as of not this most recent year, but 2 years ago.
Hunter Dickinson gone. DeJuan Harris gone. Zeke Mayo, he entered the transfer portal. I saw.
Did he stay or did he go?
I don't know, but you lost a ton of your talent on last year's roster. Yeah, he's currently in the transfer portal, Zeke Mayo. Possible he comes back, but it's just that's like you lost about 5 of your best players from last year's roster, and I know they're replacing him with big time transfer recruits, but I don't know. It's way more of a wild card.
I'm only saying this because we're on the topic and it crossed my mind. Zeke Mayo kind of killed us a little bit.
I'd take him.
We've witnessed some great things come from that mayo jar, and I think maybe we go to the store and we get us a mayo jar. Because if Carter Bryant ain't coming back, hey, look, folks, look, folks, you need some more experience in that combo guard spot. You need a guy who can light it up any given night. Can I interest you in a slightly used jar of Zeke Mayo? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there, to be honest with you. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't. In fact, I might love it. I don't know. Thoughts, Damon?
I would love it. Yeah, for sure. Arizona played 3 guards primarily all last season, right? And Zeke Mayo fits into that, like a little bit of a more of a wing.
He'd be like a super ADO.
Yeah. I'm all in on that.
I'm kind of in on it now. How do we get Tommy on the horn? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bring. Hello, Tommy Lloyd. I don't know if you've been aware. I'm sure you're so locked in. But me and Damon, we were on the pod, and we just kind of stumbled upon the idea of potentially bringing in Zeke Mayo. Thoughts, Coach? I'll hang up, let you think about it. Call me back later. Click. That's how it's going. I'm in. I'm all in on that, Damon.
Yeah, I love that idea. 15 points per game last year for Zeke Mayo, 5 rebounds, 6'4" guard out of Lawrence, Kansas, from Lawrence, Kansas, which is crazy.
That is insane.
Cool that he got to play for his hometown team,
Yeah,
but
very
also
cool.
weird that he's transferring.
It also makes
despite
like
having a good season.
It also makes like the threats he got towards the end of the year kind of extra sad too.
True.
When you think about it as well, your own people turning on you there.
True.
But
really be your own.
We're just to round out the Big 12 listings. You have Kansas at 7, Oklahoma State at 8, Colorado at 9, Baylor at 10. Kind of surprised me how low they are. TCU at 11, West Virginia at 12 makes sense with the departure of Darian DeVries. Utah 13, Kansas State 14, Texas Tech 15. And that's kind of the big that's the big rankings talk for today, Damon, unless you have anything else.
How could Baylor be so low? They got Will Coy-Kendall, or however you say that.
I think I don't know the official like media you know how they do like the media things where you have like the clip of them saying their name. I don't know the official way to pronounce it. Erika in the chat spamming it's Kai Kendall.
Here, watch this.
Hi, I'm Will Kirkendall from Santa Maria, California.
Kirkendall?
Hi, I'm Will Kirkendall from
Kirkendall?
Santa Maria, California.
It sounds like Kirkendall.
It does sound like Kirkendall.
Kirkendall.
I don't know if I like that.
That's
but
him.
I know.
That's him saying
I know.
it.
I'm just saying sometimes like languages can be strange, and some words like Colonel. Why is Colonel pronounced Colonel? You know what I mean? It makes no sense. Erika in the chat doesn't like it either. But Damon, you and I have a little bit more to talk about before we wrap up today's show, and we do have one ad break today, so we're going to get to so much more Arizona Wildcats sports talk on the other side of this quick break. Don't you go anywhere. It is the AZ Wildcats podcast. Well, Damon Dog, I want to talk to everybody here at home about our friends over at Circle K, because Circle K is not only America's thirst stop, but it's Kevin's thirst stop recently. Anytime I've needed a gallon of water, anytime I've needed some gas, some snacks, getting home late night after a D-backs postgame, nothing's open. You know what is open? Circle K, because it's reliable. It's everything that you need in a gas station thirst
Always
stop.
open.
Join that Inner Circle Rewards program for 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. That's an incredible discount there. You also get 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. But hold on, there's more. It gets better. When you use that 3 cents off per gallon a certain number of times, you get upgraded, folks, to 5 cents off per day every time you fill up. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com. For details, go get you a tornado off the rollers.
Kevin, I know this gives you anxiety, so I'm going to put it out there again. 0 miles left on my little barometer last night on my dashboard. What's that? Oh, right around the corner. It's Circle K. Let me go fill up real quick. Nice and easy.
It's always there when you need them.
That's why I don't have any quarrels about, being on E, because I know that there's a Circle K legitimately like a quarter mile in any direction.
Never
right?
a quarrel with a Circle K in mind.
And that brings us into our next part. Like, you're not going to have any quarrels when you get Empire Today as your flooring, right? Because, you might go to one of those big box stores and someone might be helping you out, a flooring expert, if you will, right? But yesterday, they were doing sinks. The day before, they were doing, 2x4s. They were in the wood portion of the store.
So you're telling me that there are people that work on my flooring at my home that they're not flooring experts? Like, they don't just work in flooring?
They pretend like they are, Kevin, but they're not. That's where Empire Today comes in. They are the real, true flooring experts. They work on flooring every single day, and that's why they are the dedicated flooring professionals that you want to install your new floor. Use the virtual, floor designer in your home. They'll show up. They'll show you what it's going to look like before you install it, before you make that giant purchase. And you know what? They're going to come in, they're going to install it for you, and they're going to bring all the materials. They're going to make it as seamless of a process as you could possibly imagine. And they're going to give you $350 off with our promo code of PHNX. Empire Today is a national company. You can get this done anywhere that you reside, not just in the great state of Arizona, not just in the great city of Tucson or Phoenix, but of course, $350 discount when using promo code PHNX. Guys, that is $350. That's a lot of change there. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today /PHNX for full details. Get yourself the best flooring in store. Well, Kevin.
Well, Damon.
We got more to talk about here. And you know, it's never a dull day in the world of Arizona athletics, right? You got
Real.
you know, you got baseball, 2 days ago. I know they lost to GCU.
Boo.
But they got a big series coming up here, I believe, against Utah in the horizon here. And then
The Utes.
you got Arizona softball playing today against UCF. But we got our own things going on here in studio as well. So without further ado, Erika, how are the vibes in the women's basketball world of things?
No contact week, Damon. Surprise though. My vibes are good. So, I know the team's vibes must be just impeccable. If I'm just this good, the team must be good. They still got some pieces to get, I'll be honest. But I'll be honest also in that I do think their recruiting class is looking a lot better than that the other team up north, ASU
Wow.
or GCU for that matter. So I'm feeling hopeful. I'm not going to sit here and say, I expect them to contend for the Big 12, but I do expect them to be competitive this year. And I think, a month and a half ago when we were talking about the possibility of a coaching change and everything around Arizona women's basketball, I was not convinced that even if Adia stayed that they would be, competitors next season. So I'm super stoked with the way that things have played out. Like I said, still some more pieces to get, and it's no contact week, so don't expect any movement this week. But here next week, I do expect for Becky Burke. She's actually out in Buffalo right now for her final time, probably packing up the cold weather to bring it back here. I hope she doesn't do that because it's now summertime. I'm tired of going back and forth, so I need her to keep that cold weather up here or up there, bring the heat back down to Tucson, and bring some players with her.
Yeah, I'm sure that she's taken in that Buffalo summer a little bit longer before.
I don't blame her.
Before
but
it gets nasty.
It feels nice in Tucson right now.
Yeah. That's why I said before it gets nasty. Like I feel like it's certainly it's not quite nasty yet. But yeah, it's. I did want to ask you, Erika. You talk about the recruiting class. You talk about how there's some pretty decent recruits that have been in the fold, right? Who is your personal favorite? Like if you had to give us one player that you thought to yourself, like this could be the star of next year's roster, who would that be?
Well, I hate to be like the person that brings on the obvious, but Michaela Purdue. She's going to be, I think, the focus of the team. She was arguably Becky's first, person that she went after, at least first major that she got.
Yeah.
And so I think, it would kind of be almost stupid to assume that she was going to center the offense around anyone else. And I think it's really fun that we're having a conversation about centering the offense in general, because that is something different than what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 seasons with Arizona women's basketball is, after Ari left, they didn't have anyone to center the offense around. So now that they're going to have that again, I think we're going to see a completely different style of basketball. And it is going to be centered around Michaela Purdue, but not in the same way that maybe it was centered around Ari McDonald a few years ago, where it was just like, oh, go do your thing and then shoot the ball at the end of the shot clock. But it's where they're actually going to be running offensive sets and plays and setting Michaela Purdue up for success. And I know you made this point earlier when Mickey was first picked up, but she's already
love that. By the way,
Yeah, I was about to say, is that?
Yeah, Mickey Purdue girls, guys, all the theys, everyone. it's Mickey. But you said it best. Like when you've played against Becky Burke and Becky Burke is now recruiting you, it must be because Becky Burke knows how she can fix whatever she was able to beat in you in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I think, that is really exciting. Mickey's super excited to be here. And I think you see it across all of her social media. She's retweeting everyone's commitments, which you don't always see the athletes do for each other. And then on top of it, she's constantly making TikToks, Instagram posts about how excited she is to be at Arizona. So I think, Becky's excited to have her, but she's just as excited to be here, and that excites me.
Yeah, certainly. I think it seems like, and I know I put you on the spot there with the star question, but that's kind of why I ask it, because it feels like Becky Burke has put together a roster of recruits that right now that are all somewhat of a similar caliber. Like it seems like there's a very well-balanced team, maybe more so than we've seen in recent years at Arizona, where it maybe felt a little bit top heavy. with, like clearly, you have Jada Williams and Brea Cunningham.
Which, by the way, did you happen to see her Instagram post this morning?
I did not.
Oh my gosh. Let me just fill you guys with some laughs.
Please.
She was working out. It's like a video of her, shooting. She's obviously with some trainer, and she is wearing a Arizona hoodie, and she edited Iowa State over it and was just like, yeah, all my clothes are packed away. And so, yeah, here's this video of me in my Arizona hoodie. And in the actual Instagram post, you can see the Arizona logo, but in her story post of the post, she put in a little Iowa State Cyclones logo, and I freaking cackled. That is so funny.
That's hilarious.
I love her for that. I know everyone's mad at her for going, and frankly, I don't care. Like, have a blast, and if you're happy, I'm happy. And the fact that everyone's making jokes about it just makes me like laugh even harder.
I do like that. I mean, it's like she can't shake us.
Right. And frankly, I would never want her to. I mean, personally, I hope she never moves on, Help, I'm still at the restaurant. Yeah, I hope Jada stays at the restaurant forever,
Yeah. Certainly. And this is in the same regard, Erika, in a similar discussion. If I had to put you on the spot right now and you had to give me what you think the starting five would be,
I was ready for this question.
What would you say?
All right. I am going to go with obviously Michaela Purdue. I think the unfortunate part is there's a lot unknown about Montea Dew. And so I think I don't anticipate her in the starting lineup, but if for whatever reason her ACL isn't actually torn and maybe she is playing full capacity next year, I would expect her to be in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
If she is not and her ACL is torn, as most of us probably believe after the injury at the end of last season, I'm going to go with Michaela Purdue, Samaya Sugapong, which y'all know, inject that player
Steph.
all the way. Yeah, exactly. Just inject her into my veins.
We actually have 2 Stephs.
Exactly. Right. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And Samaya, if you have not I've been screaming about the overtime series for Jada and Brea. Now you can go rewatch the same series and get just as excited about Samaya. So, go watch that. And then Nora Francois, kind of a similar situation where it's like, why, if you have 1 year of eligibility left, why are you going to transfer to not start?
Mm-hmm.
And then as well as Freddie Wallace, only 2 years of eligibility remaining, and she was playing at Kansas. And so if she's able to play at Kansas, I would say she's able to play here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last
was she a starter at Kansas?
I don't think she was a starter, but she did play. And then I want the 5th to be Cameron Kitchen.
Yes.
Do I think Do I think that that's the case? I'm not sure. And I think that my hesitancy comes from the fact that she would basically be a true freshman out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough spot to be in. And I mean, they're going to be playing in a really competitive league. It's not the most competitive league in all of Power 4, but it is a competitive league. And so, I think I don't know if Becky Burke is going to err on the side of experience or not, but if not, I would hope that the answer to all of our problems is Cameron Kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, and if we have Cameron Kitchen off the bench, I mean,
right, it's a benefit no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
And I think Becky Burke's proven that she's able to develop talent, so I can't be mad at any lineup she puts together, especially if the first 4 that I mentioned are the ones in the starting lineup and then Cameron's number 5. Really I can't complain.
I love it. It feels, like I said, it feels like there's a very balanced team being put into place here. Like it's not just like, oh, let's throw all our NIL at one of the top people in the portal.
Like someone else, maybe the people with the forks, maybe they did that. Sorry, my bad.
With their trash logo. Who are you referring to in particular?
Last Hair Poa. And listen, I think Last Hair Poa is really great. And I think she's going to be awesome for Molly Miller. But I think it's going to be really interesting to watch her build a roster around Last Hair Poa, who is not an offensive based player, and we already saw what happens when you build your entire roster around defense. It's not exactly a fun to watch product.
No.
So, good for them. Good luck. I'll be really interested to see what ASU is able to do. I'll say that,
It's not a fun to watch product. And in particular, I feel like when you're trying to build your fan base up,
Agreed.
You want to be exciting. You want to be fun to watch. I think that Molly Miller she's somewhat captivated the ASU fans for reasons. But I think that there's going to be hype around the program, right? But that being said, how much does that hype continue? Does it snowball? Because you need it to snowball.
And you're right. There is, I think, big questions on, sure, everyone's bought in on Volley Miller, but are they actually going to buy in and go to the games? Like, are they actually going to do that? I will be really interested to see. Kevin?
If you are watching this with any of our streaming services across the valley or the world, please go to gophnx.com. The party continues over there. And our party continues today. Where, Damon?
In overtime.
Love it.
We had Jacob Franklin, Big Jake, in the office today, a treat for us all, and just giving me the stink eye about not going to overtime here.
He's throwing forks up.
You're making my life
demonstratively.
Yeah, of course. That's the nastiest I've ever seen Jacob Franklin get at me. I mean, yeah, he is. He is in general, and that's saying something. That's saying a lot.
But no, we continue the women's basketball discussion. I wanted to ask Erika, and this is more of a lighter question, kind of a sillier one.
Mm-hmm.
Becky Burke recently teased something on Twitter. The A1s just dropped. They're a beautiful shoe. Asia, her shoe, the real MVP shoe. Becky Burke said we might get an Arizona version next year.
Let me tell you something.
Thoughts, comments, feelings?
If that happens, the equipment room better stay locked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not playing no games regarding the bear down A1s.
That's one way to get your credential revoked.
Listen,
by committing grand larceny on the Arizona equipment room.
A1s? Come on, have you seen the damn shoe?
Have you been in there, by the way?
No, and I would love to.
I've been in there when I was at the university. I worked for the Hall of Fame and the community relations department, and they sent me down there one time, and it was like for a gearhead like myself, it's like a kid on Christmas, dude. I was walking around and I was like looking at all the Nike issued stuff, looking at the helmets, the balls, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. They have older stuff in there, like stuff that would be like throwback basically, but they just kind of keep it in there. Unbelievable place.
I'm already mad that I don't have one of those sorry I was hooping hats. I don't even wear hats and I still want the damn hat. And then on top of it, now you're going to tease some red and blue A1s. I can't even get my hands on the damn pink ones, let alone I will not rest until I get those shoes in my possession. So
this is a little bit off topic, but did you see what Bam Adebayo said about the pink A1s?
I saw that he said he didn't get them yet, which is so hilarious when he's worn them in the game. No, I think the BAM stuff is so fun, and I'm glad that they've been able to approach it the way they have been, private, not secret, and I love that.
Yeah, no, I think it's hilarious as well, and they're very funny about it. Also, I need my guy to start playing some better basketball because
not too much
last
on BAM
season
now.
Was pretty rough.
Did you
also,
not hear what was
Erika,
happening in the Heat locker room? Like, Jimmy Butler literally was wrecking things. Can you just let Bam live?
I'm sure he was. He was being a despicable teammate to the people that he's, went to war with for 5 straight seasons. It's pretty unbelievable. But that's also, there's an expiration date on Jimmy Butler, but we will continue.
Also, Erika, I just wanted to quick mention, you can get the Sorry I Was Hooping hat, any day you want it.
I'm sorry. I don't want to pay egregious dollars for it. I know someone else that we all know and love that obtained that Sorry I Was Hooping hat in a little bit of a backwards way. And I was a little bit jealous. I won't lie. I'm like, where's my Sorry I Was Hooping hat? And I see KJ wearing it. It's a, certain Ball Bookman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was about to say, is it Saul? Yeah.
I like how you did the first name, but not the last name.
Yeah, you should have said Ball Suckman.
Yeah, you should have just meant Ball Bookman, like his twin brother or something, his evil twin, Ball.
Exactly.
We got to hit up our guy, Max Hazard.
Yeah.
Someone's got to give me the damn hat and the shoes. Listen, if the shoes exist, I'm getting the shoes. I want the jaw bear down colorway. I need the book. I just need them all. But the A1s, I'm not playing any games about. This isn't funny to me. This is not joke worthy. This is very much, I better get those.
This isn't a damn game.
Yeah, it's not. It's not at all. So I need the damn.
I'm half expecting Erika to grab me by the collar of my shirt and be like, "You think this is funny?"
Right? I know you guys are giggling, but nothing about this is funny. I'm getting the freaking shoes.
It's like the gas card with Max. I saw her damn near interrogating Max this morning. As she was walking in, it was kind of like a look, buddy. Walk with me here. You know what I mean? Let me tell you something. You're not just gonna not give me my Circle K fuel card and think there's not gonna be problems. With messing with Miss Day, you got problems.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now Max, I haven't seen him all day. So
Stuff.
I'll leave it there.
Kevin made a comment earlier about like, essentially, I don't want to. It's not word for word, but basically just that you don't want to be on Erika's bad side.
Correct.
And it's nothing's ever reigned more true. Like I'm so glad that we're friends with Erika here.
I just don't like Erika has a lot of petty energy. I'll say like
sure.
when she wants to like focus that laser beam of energy on one person. I'm sure it can feel real potent, and I just don't want to be the person that is the laser beam is being aimed at any one point.
Now imagine Erika and Damon are both going after you on Twitter, and your name is Bearcats 520 go down or something like some loser like that, and we're just putting you in an absolute coffin on Twitter,
blendering him. You know what I mean?
I
mean that's not a place you want to be.
The right side of the screen right now is like a lot of people's nightmare on the replies. You know what I mean?
You don't need that energy.
You don't need that tag team. You don't need this tag team over here to my left.
And to go back to your like laser focus thing, if you guys want to ask somebody about that, just call Adia Barnes.
Wow.
Stuff.
Wow.
There are plenty of people with experience.
I was joking with Damon. I think you'll enjoy this. I was joking with Damon because SMU actually the men's has like the 6th or 7th something best class, and then let me pull it up. I have it right in front of me actually. They have the 6th best class in the nation. And I was joking with Damon that maybe Adia Barnes like looked up recruiting classes, and you know how sometimes it just picks a gender for you.
Yeah.
Maybe she clicked on the link and just was like, "Oh my God, SMU 6 sign." You know what I mean? And then she like checks it further and is like, "Oof, we have a great recruiting transfer."
They got Paulina Paris, folks.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say about that: it does go to show that how much money they have.
1000%. Yeah.
Because SMU belongs nowhere near 6th best overall recruiting class in men's or women's basketball, but if they can pay it, they will.
I don't remember anything about SMU men's basketball last year. Did they?
Oh, you shouldn't have.
Yeah, I don't remember.
The last thing I remember about SMU men's basketball was Emmanuel Moutier.
All I remember about SMU last year is everybody taking private planes to the playoff game and then getting absolutely smoked. Tough, So
it certainly is tough. But Erika, I guess getting back to women's basketball for a quick second, what about the Becky Burke era is most encouraging to you? What is most exciting?
I will say her hires for assistant coach and just the staff around her has injected me in a belief that I don't think I would otherwise have. Yeah, sure, the roster construction has been quality, but I think when you're putting the likes of talent around her that she is, whether we're talking about I know Kevin saw my tweet about being concussed, but I'm not joking. So I am sorry about my little bit of a airhead today.
Blame her dog, folks.
I can't. These studio lights can't be good for a concussion.
My dog is wearing a cone, and my hair got caught in it, and she smacked me into the kitchen counter.
How big is your dog?
She's 70 pounds.
Christ.
Yeah, I love her very, very much, but it was probably one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. And it moved the kitchen counter. Oh, exactly, it really is. And it moved the kitchen counter as well as the back of my head.
How do you move a counter?
Like, it came up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My roommate was on the other side, and he was like, I felt that on this side of the kitchen counter, which is disconnected. They're not even one solid piece.
All right. I learned one thing today, that 100 men versus one gorilla do not include Erika Day in the 100 people, because getting bodied by a 70-pound dog, very valid, but it does not fill me with confidence that you could defeat a gorilla. Please continue. What encourages you about Becky Burke's era?
Julie Hairgrove, and I hope I'm saying it right. Bryce, Hargrove. I'm horrible with names either way, so woohoo. But we've talked about it before. When you're able to coach Diana Taurasi, one of arguably the most difficult people ever in all of basketball, you're able to coach kids, and it's not easy to coach young women in this particular climate of women, of college basketball in general, not just women, but also all sides. And so I think when you have the likes of her coming on your coaching staff, as well as James Ewing, I just think that she's putting to really important pieces that are good at developing players and also good at bringing the team together, which I think has been such a problem, specifically in the last 2 seasons for Arizona women's basketball fans, is that you could see on the court like that so-and-so and so-and-so aren't getting along, or so-and-so doesn't want to pass to so-and-so. And that's never a recipe for success in terms of team sports. And so I'm hoping, the culture shift with all of these people being brought in is great. And that, you can see that in the product on the court, because everyone's going to work together toward a common goal, which again is just something we haven't really been able to see over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, certainly. I think that, it's encouraging for Arizona women's basketball fans everywhere what's going on with the program. Just in terms of I felt like the expectations were low after
Agreed.
what happened with Adia Barnes and kind of just the falling out of that. Like it didn't feel like there, as to your tweet that kind of blew up, like it didn't feel like resources were really being put into this program, or like that was like the goal. It felt like the goal was to take a step back and save money.
Right.
And ultimately, like, that is what happened. But at the same time, like, it does seem like DRF made a hire that can inspire some confidence in you. Like, regardless of whether or not Becky Burke is being paid a lot less money than Adia Barnes, she's done everything that you could really hope for, I think, given the resources at her disposal right now. So I don't know. I'm pumped about it. And despite, as you say, like maybe not being a Big 12 contender per se, I do think that this team should be fun to watch. They should be competitive, and they should play hopefully a fun, good, solid brand of basketball.
And I'm going to say it now, is going to make the tournament.
Okay.
I mean, last year,
Stamp
Arizona
that.
didn't do it. The year before that, they went to a play-in game. Like that. And if there's one thing I hate about the NCAA tournament, it's a play-in game. So keep them the hell out of that spot. Please.
I wish there wasn't.
It doesn't. I'm sorry. There's already 68 teams or 60, whatever.
64, yeah. It's
It's
64 team
ridiculous.
field. You don't need to add 4 more. And,
It's just crazy. It's just excessive.
I don't know. Part of that from me, though, is, I hate the Bobby Hurley Memorial Dayton, Ohio first 4 games. Like, I'm pretty sure we've talked about it. Bobby owns a house in Dayton because ASU ends up there so often. So I just think it's ridiculous. And then you get to claim you made the tournament even if you lost in the first 4.
It's terrible. And then you go and play in the first round and you're swamped. Like you're cooked before the game even starts. It's just it's stupid and pointless, honestly. Kevin hit that gavel because they are going to the NCAA tournament. Exactly.
You heard it here from Judge Erika.
Stamped official.
First I was an Infinity
Notarized.
Stone. Now I'm a judge. I like the names I'm getting from this podcast.
The honorable.
The Honorable Judge Day.
Yeah.
Nice. I kind of like that. Should I
Kinda
change my
goes
Twitter
hard.
handle? Yeah.
Kinda goes
It
hard.
does go hard.
But yeah, Erika, is there anything else that you specifically wanted to talk on the pod as you had the floor today?
No, I'm just so excited you guys let me come on. Thanks for having me. It was a last minute situation, I don't even think you guys knew I was coming today. So
I didn't until I saw Mercury was on the schedule, and I was like, oh.
I saw Mercury. I saw some tweets that Mercury was going to be
Every
happening
Thursday.
today. Yeah, so
maybe it can be a new regular thing where
I love it. Let's do
come
it
on Thursdays.
Yeah, Erika Day Thursdays.
Erika Thursdays.
Wow.
I love it.
It's just-
Has anything ever been branded better in the history of branding?
Now I just need a Brandon Bills.
Brandon Bills? Yeah, Brandon Bills.
They got that purple Brandon Bills though, which I'm on the hunt for, Max.
Do they
Is it
have
purple?
any Merck branded bills?
They're brand new. They're brand new.
Yeah.
They've just I've asked, I've harassed. Max is kind of annoyed with me because I've asked, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm doing my job, and I
Max
want to
wants-
spread the good
yeah,
word
Max
about
wants-
the great hats.
He wants everyone to shill, but God forbid anyone
Needs something.
tries to attempt to do that shilling.
Shill for my own team,
And
nonetheless.
then if I'm like, oh, what can I do to
Yeah.
go to get this?
Yeah.
How can I shill to get this? He's like, ask Connor, ask Zach. That's actually their thing. It's like, isn't this your house? I'm coming into your house asking for a plate of food, and you're telling me to ask your dog or something. Like, I don't know what's going on.
He's just Mr. Delegation at this point.
Mr. Delegation Vacations. You know what
I'm not
saying?
sure. I'm not sure what he does around here anymore, to be completely honest.
say
with
no
you.
to me getting new gas cards.
No gas cards, no Merc hats. I think he actually doesn't like you, Erika. That's what I'm learning.
I know this. I literally was yelling about this earlier today to him. I'm like, Max, I only come up here once a week, and you're gonna act like it's just the worst day of your week. That cannot be true. It just cannot be true.
Well,
The
I
man
think
literally works with Owen Evans.
Max is a little bit stressed right now because his, horrible soccer team is playing in a game, and the Europa League final is on the line in this one. So he's probably just not in the mood for it, to be completely
Euro
honest
League,
with you.
LOL.
Don't you guys know that the Mercury play is starting and they lost? I'm not in the mood either, but yeah, here I am. Get it together,
but
Max.
the A1's dropped, so like I feel like you have some
Yeah, and they lost by
counterbalancing going.
one.
Yeah, but
to- Yeah, they lost by one.
yeah, I didn't put together the one part until like literally right now when you said it out loud to me. Like I saw it in your tweet about it, but I was like, the one thing didn't really connect.
So, Erika, before we end this show out, I do want to give you the floor real quick. How do we feel about the Mercury this year? This will be a little preview for our PHNX, Mercury listeners or potential listeners that may want to, thus watch the PHNX Mercury show every Thursday at 11 a.m.
I'm gonna tell you this.
Is that right?
It is every Thursday in May, 11 a.m. all May long. Okay, in June I can't tell you, so don't ask me.
All May long.
But listen, the Mercury is going to be better than the Suns, which I feel like is a low bar.
Yeah.
The bar is the basement.
And so
the bar is the core of the earth.
Would you say that the Mercury and the Sun are aligned?
God, I hope not.
Are the Suns and the Mercury aligned? Is
I
Matt
hope on
HBO aligned
opposite
with
ends
Erika
of
Day?
the earth that they may be aligned just on opposite sides. You know what I mean? But I'm really excited. The Mercury have a new big three in Satu Sabli, Alyssa Thomas, and then also obviously Kalia Copper, who was here last season. But they got my friend of the show, friend of me, Natasha Mack in the starting lineup.
Mac attack.
Yeah,
Mac
I mean,
truck.
beep beep. You know what I'm saying? And then also obviously Helena Puello on the training camp roster. Yeah, right. And so I mean, this is really exciting stuff. And this team, I hate being they're going to play positionless basketball person, but literally they're going to play positionless basketball. And I know everyone's all mad about them potentially being 14 of 40 from three, but literally who cares? Because one of these nights they're going to be like 32 for 40 from three. So just shut up and enjoy the basketball. Hopefully we go and we host in the playoffs. I need them to be a top 4 team. I think they're very capable of being a top 4 team. They've got 3 players in the top 12 players in the league. I mean, there's only one other team in the entire league that has that same stake where they've got players that are just as good on paper. And so I think the Mercury, as best as anyone else, has every opportunity to go on a nice little playoff run. Whether they win it all, I don't know. I really hope so. Have you guys heard about my desires for a parade?
I mean, I've never wanted anything more than a parade here in Arizona.
Right,
I'm not
please.
sure we're ever going to get one.
I'm actually begging. And then once it does happen, I may need to be checked into an insane asylum. So
If the Diamondbacks had won in 2023, I think that I probably would have died at the parade, and that would have been the best. That would have been the way I want to go out.
I don't blame you.
Poetic.
It doesn't get any better. That would be the peak of my life. Would
Right.
be the 2023 Diamondbacks championship. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
It's okay because now Arizona's got the top recruiting class in the country, and now they're number 2 recruiting class in the country. See, I wasn't here for the beginning half, but
Well, we do believe that it's actually the best, but
so
neither here nor there.
it's the PHNX number 1 recruiting class in the country.
That's right.
And
It's our personal rankings.
exactly, and it ends there. It starts at 1 and ends at 1.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think they got good opportunity to win some nice this year. So I'm excited all the way around. It's going to be a fun calendar year of basketball. I hope you guys lock in a little bit with the Mercury because I think it's a lot to be enjoyed about.
Yeah.
And if Helena Puello makes a team, which I really don't think she will, I mean, I hope that all of you Wildcat fans come out to support. I'll be very, very bitter if Helena Puello is in that building and all of you are not also there as well.
Very well said. Also, the fact that she would imply, Damon, that I'm not going to be even slightly locked in on Mercury ball as if I'm not working on the pod with her this upcoming season.
This brother is the producer of the pod.
What is she talking about over there? What is going on, Erika?
I know, but I know that Kevin's a busy guy. And it's also baseball season. And he watches all the Diamondbacks games. It's tough.
A little sneak peek in. Yeah, Kevin will be.
It's actually a trade going on.
Yes, he'll have a lot more time on his hands, so he'll be able to invest in Mercury
really
basketball.
We're really getting Kevin. Hail to the
Mm-hmm.
No offense to anybody else, but that's really exciting for me personally.
That's your boy.
So are you going back to D-backs?
Yeah.
So no more Cardinals?
The curtain is being closed. The curtain is being closed.
The curtain was open
Just
for a half second. It is now closed.
To catch all 3 of us. You never know where any of us will be.
Luckily, there's not a whole lot of crossover, so we'll be fine. But
man, that was so good.
I gotta say, I checked out the Merc schedule and I saw a logo and I was like, "The hell am I looking at?"
The Valkyries?
Yeah, the Valkyries.
I hate the branding.
Sorry, you're wrong.
Sorry, I hate it.
Beautiful. Go
Hate
look
it.
at their locker room real quick. The Valkyrie locker room is the best.
But that's what I'm not saying their facilities
oh
are
my
bad.
God. But have you seen the facilities of the rest of the league? Because if you did, you would know that it matters so much.
Aren't the Merc facilities nice?
Amazing, incredible, top of the line.
I kind of hate the logo.
That's what I'm saying. The logo's garbage.
Well, you'll hate it even more when
It
you find out,
goes-
you know, how like it was their first game the other day and they're trying to establish like fan traditions and they had everybody throw the V's up.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
I gotta
that's kind
say,
of cool.
like it's just like you can't be Golden State and then not have gold anywhere in
Oh, that's a great
any
point
of your
too.
branding.
That's a great point.
You could. What about purple? Purple and like you don't have to make it Lakers, but like purple and like gold,
Like
not
royal
like yellow
gold.
Well,
gold.
except for the Sparks already exist and they do have the Lakers colors in California.
But I'm saying not quite the Lakers.
I just don't
colors,
think that
like
they
lavender
could-
and gold. That'd be cool.
I wish, but unfortunately,
Why didn't they just do the Warriors colors?
That's what I'm saying.
Of like
when
blue
the-
and gold.
I like when the teams base off of what their NBA team counterpart is, because there are a lot of them are connected in that way.
And like
get
Brian
it.
Gregory, you got to be aligned. You know what I mean? There's a lack of alignment between the Valkyries and the Warriors, and I think that's going to cause a problem because you need to have an aligned vision.
I've heard a
between
lot of Brian
owner-
Gregory talk here
You
in
know
the
what I
office recently. I think he's been kind of bouncing in and out here of PHNX HQ.
Hey, it's Brian Gregory here. Oh, sorry. You never know who's going to pop into the PHNX office. That was crazy. Man, Gerald, you should have gave us a heads up. Anyway, I think we're going off the rails here, folks.
We certainly are. But that was I just wanted to preview a little bit of Mercury and let the folks know at home what Erika is up to when she's not, locking in on Arizona women's basketball. She's locking in on some Merc basketball, and got big season coming up with a fun, talented roster. So make sure you guys check out what PHNX Mercury has going on, and go throw them a follow. Is it PHNX_Mercury on
sure
Twitter?
is.
Sure is. She, of course, is Erika Lee Day on Twitter. No H. I, of course, am Damon Dog, DAWG, and he is Kevo Post. That's KEVOPOSTS. Throw us all a follow. Throw our show a follow at PHNX_Wildcats. Leave a like on this video. 15 likes, a little light, Kevin. A little light.
Very light.
I'll tell you what, I didn't get good sleep last night. I'm pretty sure it was because of yesterday's like total. So
That is the rumor on the streets.
it's mostly affects Kevin, but every once in a while when the like total is extremely low, it somehow like ricochets and hits me as well. I'm getting caught with strays, and I think both of us didn't really get great sleep. So make sure you guys throw us a like, help us out, help your boys out, and your gal.
One concussed girl and two sleepy boys,
Yeah.
Help
Absolutely.
us, please.
Absolutely. This is the AZ Wildcats podcast. We appreciate you guys rocking with us on a Thursday. We'll be back on a Friday at noon on this fine channel. Throw a subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Road to 50K. Keep talking about it. We are going to get there eventually. Stay tuned. But until next time, we'll catch you tomorrow on a Friday edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Shout out to Erika for being on the pod today. Erika Thursdays.
We all silly like the mayor.